Right, I'm supposed to do another video about something. I actually can't remember what it is. So I'm going to do the proper first instalment for this channel. And just go over an overview of like my background. So I've been in social care for about 32 years. I started in homeless services, the New Boot Hostel back in St Basil's way back when. And while I was working there, I was doing agency work, and I started working in the children's homes for the local authority. So back then we had Group 1, Group 2 and Group 3 children's homes, with Group 3 being the more behaviours that challenge, if you like. And I tended to do really well in those homes, so I stuck with those homes. And back then, Bournemouth Road, Res Road, Athelston, if you know, you know. And I worked in those homes mainly and did really well, and I was able to work with those children really well. And across the board, I've worked in substance misuse, I've done community detoxes, I opened a home for women in recovery from drugs and alcohol. It was the first home of that kind in Birmingham. It did really well. We owned the building, we owned the service, the whole thing. The local authority offered to buy the beds, which meant we would have been paid in when the beds were empty. We turned that down because it was for people in need. And that did really well. I bought the house, I put the service together, the service was free. I worked with the likes of I can't remember his name now. But anyway, you get the gist. So all throughout that time, I still worked in children's services. I became an assessor and internal verifier for health and social care, leadership and management in 2009. I have a level 5, but I also assess and internally verify MVQ/diplomas right up to level 5 and 6, because I've got the competencies for 6 and 7. And I'd kind of stayed away from Ofsted. They don't have a good reputation. I'm known for speaking out, could just do without the aggravation, and didn't want to get into any bother. So I'd moved in with my partner, and the house that I owned at the time was empty. It was in Erdington. I was doing Airbnb and then decided to sell it. So there's been a lot of press. There's been a lot of press, and there still is a lot of press around profiteering. Through children's trauma, really, at the end of the day, and I don't agree with it. And we had decided that we would set up a home for the more challenging group of children, the children who typically have 2-to-1, 3-to-1, even 4-to-1 staffing ratios. We would charge very competitive rates, much lower than what people normally ask. And we've got a team that have got a lot of experience with that group of children. And I'd worked out on paper, I'm not great with figures, but I'd worked out on paper you could still make plenty of money to pay people properly. We had up to 15 members of staff working across the time we were open, and nobody was paid less than £15 an hour. Nobody. In fact, everybody was paid the same, because regardless of experience, we couldn't really run the home without anybody, that everybody was needed. And we didn't have tiers. Everybody was a senior, because for that group of children, the work that was needed, the ongoing training that was needed, that is senior work. So there's no issues about seniors on duty or anything like that. I've been in management for years. I've done management for years. There's never an issue about whether I can manage or not. Count maybe, but manage, no, not at all. So we put in the application in November 2023. And as with most applications for children's homes, it took quite a while for it to go through. And while I was waiting for it to go through, it was November 2023. In the August, things were already sorted, but it's not even August, June, July, I applied for an RI role that I'd seen at a children's home called Coven Homes. The manager was Irene Merriman, and it was her and her son that were running it. He was the director, she was a registered manager. She's been a registered manager for about 10 years, plenty of experience. And they had a 3-hour interview with me. I stayed with them for 3 hours. We went for food and that kind of thing. They liked me. They thought I had plenty of experience. I also spoke with Billy Mulvaney, who's got a ton of experience. Went over my own experience with him, and he gave me some pointers and that kind of thing. Done the interview, passed the interview, not a problem. And when Ofsted came in, I think it was August the 2nd or August the 9th, looking at the paperwork and the registration, I was approved as the responsible individual who sits slightly above the registered manager. Within 24 or 48 hours, so Ofsted had no doubt that I was a fit person. Coven Homes had no problem with me being the RI, and it went fine, not a problem. A lot of the stuff I'd prepared for the interview I didn't have to use, but that was all okay and that was sorted out. During the time I was there were some things that came up, but nothing major. But one of the days when I was there, one of the things I always asked when I got there was, how are the staff? Is everything okay? Are they doing okay? How are the children? And across the board, because it's important that the staff are okay as well as the children. And it was always, yes, everything's fine. Everything, there's not a problem. There was never any concerns coming from the director, which was Daniel Challoner, the son, or Irene Merriman, who was the manager. Occasionally I would come and I would do I would come in before the shifts changed so I could catch staff going off, speak with them. And then as the shift changed, I'd catch the staff coming on as well. So, and I do it at other homes, whether I'm doing assessing, whether I'm managing. It just means I can catch up with people, because part of the role is not only knowing the children, it's knowing the staff as well. And with the children, sometimes they'd be in staff meetings, sometimes they'd be in training. I would sit and look after the children. So it's getting to know the children and getting to know the staff. Again, no problems there. One of the days when I came in, a member of staff, and she's written me a statement to confirm what I thought was going on. One of the member of staff came up and had said to me that she was doing these journeys to take one of the children to school. I was aware of that. And the journeys were 3 hours to the school and 3 hours back. And I did know about it. I felt it was excessive, but when I looked legally about driving, it wasn't breaching any rules or going over any driving, the lengths of time you can drive non-stop or anything like that. So I didn't really worry about it. She then said that she suffers with anxiety from driving, and that did give me some causes for concern. As she was explaining it to me, she was holding her head. She looked weary and tired. She just brought the child back. And I just felt that I'm a driver, and I've been driving for over 30 years. I think driving itself can be quite tiring. A 6-hour round trip is tiring. And if you have to take the child there in the morning and then take the child back in the afternoon, that could be a lot. So I had mentioned it. Then once she had spoke to me about it, it felt, I suppose in essence, it's whistleblowing. It's telling me that you don't feel well, you suffer with anxiety. And this is a medical issue, so you can't drive any children around like that, and especially not children in care. And I would imagine that the insurance people didn't know. So the car wouldn't be covered, you wouldn't be covered, the business wouldn't be covered. So I took that to Irene and Daniel. We had a staff group. I took it to the group. I put it in writing so that if anything ever came of it, I didn't think that it would, I'd have it in writing. And I do that with lots of things. I'm just like that. So what they basically said to me was they were having trouble getting drivers. I also was aware of that. And it would be sorted eventually. Now, I was there for 4 months. I got 4 months worth of WhatsApp messages, and all this went on in the WhatsApp message, and I'm going to produce those as well. So what I said was, you know, I kind of said okay, but it wasn't okay. You know, I'm saying to you, and Irene's been a registered manager for 10 years, 10 odd years. So I'm telling you, this is a safety issue for the child and for the member of staff. You're telling me it'll be sorted. You can't tell me when. And granted, I did say, okay. I didn't mean okay, it's fine. I meant, okay, I can't take it any further, because I've stressed it. I don't know how much more I can stress it. I'm stressing it. So I haven't come off the phone. I thought about it for a while. I was at the home when I'd seen the lady. I drove at the time, to my mum's. And while I was at my mum's, I was thinking about it and thinking about it and thinking about it. And then whenever I'm doing a freelance role, I have somebody who supervises me as well. Because obviously, in essence, I'm working alone. I'm part of a team, but I'm not part of a team. And when I was driving home, I called my supervisor and said, I'm really concerned about this, but I'm going to wait till tomorrow and call them again. And then if they're not going to respond, I'm going to contact Ofsted. So what he said to me was, if you leave it and you speak to Ofsted tomorrow, Ofsted are going to say you knew yesterday and you should have told them yesterday. So when I got home, which was only Sutton to Erdington, it wasn't far. When I got home, I got on the computer and I did the Reg 40 notification. So rightly or wrongly, it's been reported to me. If I'd have left it and something happened, what they would have said is, well, Joanne knew. She never said anything to anyone, or, you know, blah, 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 blah. And the following day, they removed me from the business WhatsApp. They went on to tell Ofsted that I just disappeared, but I didn't disappear. They removed me from. Now, they put that I disappeared in court paperwork. And I showed the courts, these are the WhatsApp messages. I was still there. They removed me. And I contacted as well that morning. I also contacted the inspector for that home and said, I don't think it's tenable that I continue working there, because I knew there was going to be hostility. I've seen how they treat people. I knew it was going to be an issue. But I don't feel like I had a choice. I think it was the right thing to do. If I had to do it again today, I would do it. So that was that. I was already in the process of, I'd already told them I was leaving anyway. They had offered to help me. You know, Irene had said if there's any forms that you wanted, or I'd already done all the forms and everything. I'd done it. I just didn't want to tell them when I started up, because people think that you'll take there. But I already had all this sorted. I'd done my own planning permission. I'd helped 2 homes previously set up, and I was fine. So what they went on to tell Ofsted was I was hostile to them because they wouldn't help me set up. I was already set up. I did my August, September. That would have been September. I did my application a few weeks after that, but it was already all done. The building was done, the health and safety, it was all done. I arranged my own health and safety inspection. I did it all myself. So that's up to that point. I haven't heard anything because I'm worried about the reference they're going to give me, but I've got no choice but to do it. And before I made the Reg 40 notification, I thought they might give me a bad reference. But again, I didn't have any choice. It had to be done, and I did it. And then my next video, I'll tell you how I've done the application now in September. Is it September? No, November. I do my application, and then in that window of time, I get a call from Stephen Newman to do an interim role, registered manager's role at his children's home, and I'll go into that madness then. Okay.